as you all know, probably throughout your time as a human and developing relationships, some relationships develop with ease and others will take more work. And this is very normal and understandable when you consider we all come from different backgrounds and hold different values in our lives. And a key strategy for overcoming barriers is forming relationships. And it's how we reflect on our identities and how our identities interact with the identities of the other person. So remember that relationships are a space of learning and unlearning. So through this process of self reflection, we learn, and perhaps more importantly, unlearn some key patterns that may be contributing to our relationship challenges. So let's start by examining key barriers to engaging in transformative relationships with our colleagues. And it's important to reflect on our identities within the context of the power of our identities. Power can be a tricky concept to reflect on because it really changes based on the context. It can change throughout your day, throughout your week, and just maybe even in the room that you're in. So, for example, in one scenario, you may be the leader of your classroom or the leader of maybe a team of teachers or maybe the leader of your department. And this gives you a lot of power and a lot of influence. But then in the next scenario, you're in a meeting with your administrator or maybe your supervisor, and you have less power and less influence. Your identities have not changed, but the context has shifted that power dynamic. So, power dynamics are really one of those barriers that we really should be examining. Relationships with students can have their own inherent barriers that really lean into the discrepancies in this power dynamic. So we know that educators are in the business of caring about youth, right? That is the main purpose that many people got into this field of work that we are all in, is caring about youth. But sometimes it is our adultiness that can get in the way of student success. And it's critical that we examine our influence on the learning environment of youth so that we can engage authentically and increase the chance that students will stay motivated and less stressed during their time with us. Let's talk about what it means when we say adultism. And it can take many forms, including ignoring input from youth, maybe adopting a my way or the highway attitude, taking the side of other adults in the room because it feels more comfortable, or downplaying youth's experience due to their age. All adults are socialized to be adultists. So understanding and accepting this is necessary to unlearning adultist behaviors. And these perceptions lead us to assume we alone know what's best for our students and lead us to imposing solutions on our students instead of creating solutions with them. So it's really important that we keep adultism in mind when we are building relationships with youth so that we can check out our own internalized perspectives that might get in the way from staying or maybe moving that relationship from transactional into that transformative space. And then lastly, we're going to reflect on the barriers to creating meaningful relationships with the families in our school communities. So oftentimes we are thinking of engaging families, we think of what we can do for families to get them to interact with us. But we really need to reframe what is true family engagement? Because at its core, it's not family engagement, it's engagement with families, not for families, but with families. And we're working to move towards collaborative and dynamic relationships with families united under the same purpose, which is ultimately the well being of the young person that we are all caring for. So I want to know, what barriers are you seeing when you're trying to foster relationships with your colleagues, your students, or maybe the families in your school community?